we have a beautifully jeweled sculpture of a woman. The guest inherited this item from her mother, who bought it in the 1980s.
Probably 1980, 81, somewhere around there.
We don't see these in this size very often. The form is a moretto.
The jeweled gold moretto has a dark-skinned appearance, reflecting its moretto form.
The body and turban are heavily gem-encrusted gold. The gems are all sorts of jewels that might have been sitting around the bench, and they're all very nice.
On the back of the item, we see the name of its maker, Giulio Nardi, an Italian sculptor known for creating many jeweled artworks in the 20th century. We see turquoise gems on the front and back of the turban on the sculpture's head.
The top of the turban is set with a very large turquoise.
Similar to Nardi's approach in sculpturing. A closer look reveals the item is coated with about 18 carats of pure gold, giving it a luxurious appearance. At auction, this intricately jeweled moretto of magnificent presence would fetch...
So the value on this one, I'd give it an auction estimate of $40,000 to $60,000.
Mom, are you listening?
We have here a couple of eye-catching oil paintings and a chair. Our guest was the child model on these paintings.
This little painting here inscribed "My best wishes to Chicky Pelham" from Norman Rockwell.
The chair was used when these paintings were made in 1952 by Norman Rockwell, an American painter and illustrator whose works reflect American culture. This guest modeled for Rockwell for many years and received the paintings and chair as a token of appreciation. She recounted that Rockwell was a man of principles in his work.
So they sent the paintings back to Norman, and he gave them to my dad because my dad was his photographer.
Looking closely at the paintings, we can see intricate details that show cultural discourse in society. Rockwell's works were later revered, showing their lasting appreciation and quality. At auction, the iconic chair on which many of America's popular paintings were made would fetch...
It would make at least $50,000.
You are kidding. Oh,
But
my goodness.
It's pretty iconic, really, from this painting, and to think of the amazing paintings that he did when he was sitting in this chair.
Pens and pencils, tools so grand, write our stories hand in hand. A collection of about 500 pens was gathered over a period of 25 to 30 years. The collection included several special Waterman pens, a high-quality brand established in 1884. These 14-karat gold pens were purchased for about $300. These particular pens were a gift from Amelia Earhart to her husband, George Putnam, on May 20th, 1932. This was the day she made her record-setting solo transatlantic flight. The pens feature engravings with their names and the date. One pen also has a detailed engraving of Earhart's plane and Neptune, the god of the sea. George Putnam, a publisher, previously published Charles Lindbergh's book, We. He found Earhart while searching for a female pilot. Putnam proposed to her 6 times before she finally accepted. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
I feel that these pens on the secondary auction market would bring between $15,000 and $20,000.
My. then he got a good set of pens.
This guest picked up these denim garments from a dumpster in Georgia. Dating back to the 1940s and 1950s, the 2 denim jackets showcased were both made by Old Kentucky and feature flannel lining pleats and extra stitching on the pockets. At auction, this pair of classic denim jackets would be valued at...
The 2 jackets, I would say the value would be between $250 and $450.
We also have a denim jeans by Lee Ryder, which features a button fly that adds more value to the item. These highly desirable jeans are estimated to be worth...
They're probably $250 to $400.
Lastly, the denim coveralls worn by the guest in such good condition would auction for...
And your coveralls, probably $250 to $450 for the coveralls.
The guest brought in a family heirloom, her great-great-grandfather, Michael Doan's sharpshooter medals.
There were militia in San Francisco between 1852 and I think 1888, and these are a couple of his sharpshooter medals.
The Gold Shield was a yearly competition prize. Look closely. 1867, 1868, 1870, and 1872. Michael was a champion. Eagle is not solid gold, but the 18-karat shield sure is. The other medal is 14-karat gold and celebrates his 1867 win. The backside reveals that Colonel C.L. Taylor himself awarded Michael this medal. These medals are beautifully crafted and tell a story of skill and competition. These gold beauties could fetch.
We would put a conservative auction estimate at about $2,000 to $3,000.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. It's a great one. And they're wonderful medals. The inscriptions are wonderful.
Thank you.
Today we explore a captivating lithograph discovered in an attic. The guest found this print wrapped in old butcher paper and twine. The print, titled The Outbreak of the Rebellion in the United States, 1861, tells a powerful story from the northern perspective. Issued in 1865, the print features a central motif of liberty and depicts the division caused by the Southern secession.
You can see over here you have a typical American mother with her children weeping for the United States.
On the left side of the print is the 15th President of the United States, illustrating his role in the secession crisis.
This figure down here, and you can see down here his name, Floyd. That's John B. Floyd, who was the Secretary of War under Buchanan.
On the right side are the 16th American President and a famous American military commander representing the Union.
And you can see the Southern soldiers are rending the flag. And up here we have Fort Sumter, where the Civil War started,
with supporters rallying for a hopeful future. The print uses vivid allegory to convey its message, though such symbolism is often underappreciated today. This lithograph, with its rich historical narrative, in today's market would be valued at...
So it's probably worth about $1,200 to $1,400, which is a substantial amount. But if you consider that it's such a wonderful story from the period, it probably should be worth more.
The guest inherited beautiful jewelry set from her mother. For 15 years, she admired it, but never knew much about it. She thought the brand name was Engel, but the appraiser corrects her to Eisenberg Ice. Eisenberg started by making clothes in Chicago and decorated them with rhinestones. The rhinestones were so popular, people started taking them off the clothes. In response, Eisenberg began creating beautiful rhinestone jewelry. The set is from the 1940s to 50s and features colored rhinestones. It includes a necklace, earrings, bracelet, and brooch, a purer in French. Eisenberg jewelry was sold in high-end stores like Marshall Field's. While not cheap then, maybe $15 to $20 a piece, it was top-quality costume jewelry. Today, Eisenberg jewelry, especially with the colored stones, is very collectible. The entire set could fetch.
All these pieces would sell between $1,500 and $1,800.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea.
This guest presented us with a brilliant art piece she inherited from her father-in-law. This work of art stands among the high ranks of museum-quality paintings and was created by the Dutch-Belgian genre painter Petrus van Schendel. Petrus, known as Monsieur Chandel, painted in the Romantic style and specialized in nighttime scenes lit by lamps and candles. This painting, typical of his work, depicts a nighttime scene of a market at Quayside, showcasing his mastery of light effects from candles to moonlight.
Was there any particular significance to the subject, do you think, for your father-in-law when he bought it?
Bearing the signature of this exceptional artist, this authentic painting is expected to sell at auction for...
A lot of people collect him. Probably make between £70,000 and £90,000. So you should probably insure it for £100,000.
Wow. Thank you.
We have these luxurious historical rugs here, decorated with great ornaments from top to bottom. The guest inherited these Hamadan and Talish rugs as family heirlooms.
Well, one of them is from the Caucasus, and that's the one that's hanging with us. These were probably bought around the same time, I'm guessing in the early 1900s.
The Hamadan rug shows designs that were made in the early 20th century by the Persians, when vintage synthetic dye designs were first introduced. The Talish rug shows designs that were made in the Caucasus in 1880. What sets these items apart is the dye used. The Hamadan rug's synthetic dye is common.
A Persian rug that was made for the Western market, and it was made at a time when they were already starting to use synthetic dyes.
Unlike the Talish rug's natural dye, which is highly valued. Despite being common and less revered, this Hamadan rug should sell for
a rug like this for about $7.50.
Wow. The Talish rug, due to its rarity, growing popularity, and good condition, would fetch?
The piece here, I would say, has a retail value of $12,000.
That much?
Yes.
Wow.
This guest brought a surprising family heirloom, a Joe Louis signed whiskey bottle. A big Joe Louis fan, her mom couldn't meet him, but her dad got her the signed bottle.
She would tell us stories about how when she was younger, they didn't have a radio, so she listened to the first fight or one of the...
Joe Louis was a legendary heavyweight boxing champion. He retired in 1949 and even had his own short-lived whiskey brand. The bottle is incredibly rare. Its production ended in 1953.
He started small businesses, one of them being the Joe Louis whiskey. It was a very short-lived product. It was launched in 1952, and by late 1953...
Joe Louis's autograph makes it even rarer, a true collector's item. Mom would be ecstatic to know her prized possession is on Antiques Roadshow. The appraiser estimates the value of...
We would put a conservative auction estimate for this bottle of Joe Louis whiskey at $1,200 to $1,500.
Wow, that's good. Oh, excuse me. I'm excited. That's nice.
This book belonged to the guest's great-great-grandfather, an early Texas Presbyterian minister who founded the City Temple Presbyterian Church in Dallas. He possibly acquired the book through his diverse interests, including law. The guest inherited some of his books, including this one, and has been curious about its authenticity. The appraiser identified the book as an 1830 first printing of the Book of Mormon from New York. Originally, 5,000 copies were printed, with about half remaining today. The book retained its original sheepskin binding, but was missing a few pages and had water damage. Even with the damage, the appraiser noted its significance in Mormon culture and estimated its retail value at...
I can see it having a retail price of $75,000.
Oh my goodness. Even with water damage?
Even with the water damage.
Oh my goodness.
Displayed on the show is a vintage oil on canvas painting. The item was purchased by the guest's parents in the 1960s. This 13 by 18-inch painting was created by Edward Cortez. Cortez, a French painter of French and Spanish ancestry,
his stock and trade was doing these scenes of Parisian streets.
Is also known as the Parisian poetry of painting. Depicted in the painting is a scene of a Parisian street, Rue Royale, with La Madeleine visible behind it. Interestingly, many of Cortez's paintings have a single vanishing point.
Back of the painting is covered in cardboard largely, so it's a little hard to see, but with a little bit of checking, what I was able to find was the pinhole, in fact.
And we can observe the vanishing point in this piece. Additionally, the painting still retains its original frame, which further enhances its overall value. Considering the original frame and the detailing of this piece, it is estimated to be worth...
Actually expect to pay closer to $55,000. Which is a little bit better than $10,000.
It certainly
is.
Standing adorably before us is a charming male doll. Our guest's grandmother bought it for her sons. This classic doll was originally made in Germany by the famous German doll maker Kathy Kruse. She was a notable pioneer of German doll making.
It's made by the Kathy Kruse, or Kate Kruse, who was a woman who started manufacturing dolls in about 1910.
The lovable item is in great shape and condition.
And so all of her dolls were molded and sculpted and then oil painted.
This unique doll is tagged as Kathy Kruse Doll 1.
She made this particular doll, which is referred to as Kathy Kruse Doll 1.
The doll's hat has some signs of wear, but the overall piece is remarkably well preserved and would have an auction value of...
The retail market, this doll would sell between $4,500 and $5,000.
I thought it was a three-figure doll.
It's unusual. That's the first thought at a glance of this painting. Contrary to other types of oil paintings, which are done on canvas, this unusually appealing painting was done on masonite by Keith Vaughan. Keith was a British modern painter, but this picture, drawn in 1957, is far from modern. He often had an interest in drawing male figures, and this painting is proof of that. This piece of art represents the thought process of an unusual artist.
And this was the first picture that came up.
Okay.
The fellow's estate, he was a musician, but collected a lot of art. The first painting came up and they said it's worth between $10,000 and $12,000.
And the contrast in color of this masterpiece really catches the eye. Keith's paintings were known to represent modernism, so this item would auction at...
I would suggest that this painting conservatively is worth $40,000 to $60,000 at auction.
Fantastic.
This looks like something you would see in a Lord of the Rings movie to summon mages, but it was used in the American Revolutionary War that spanned from 1775 to 1783. This is one of the indigenous folk art pieces of North American origin. The horn is engraved as a form of ownership and to showcase the year it was made. Also present on the surface are various other engravings.
His horn, made at North Castle in the year 1776, and it says liberty and property.
A mermaid is also engraved on the surface, which signifies life. This war horn was used by the troops to signal an impending attack. As a piece of folk art, this beautifully engraved horn would retail at the auction price of...
It's just a grand piece of folk art worth $25,000.
That much?
Yes.
Ooh.
This item may seem like a sweater belonging to a celebrity sportsman, but it's more special than you think. The ECL on the sweater represents the Eastern Colored League, which was formed in 1920. At the time, this sweater and the ECL were remarkable achievements, considering that people of color were not deemed worthy of participating in white people's sports. However, things changed when the ECL formed into the National Negro League in 1923, and this sweater represents one of the earliest league artifacts. As a piece of history, this sweater in its ravishing form would auction at... You might wonder what this portrait and chair today's guest is presenting is all about. Well, it's a portrait of a former president of Harvard College, Reverend Edward Holyoake. Reverend Holyoake was Harvard's 10th president, overseeing around 100 students during his tenure. This portrait captures a significant historical figure and was painted in 1749 by John Greenwood. The chair accompanying the portrait is said to have belonged to Holyoake, featuring distinctive Boston-made craftsmanship.
And of course, you know a lot about the Reverend Holyoake because he was the 10th president of a very important university.
With its beautiful scallop shell and shell-carved knees, showing the chair's origins to Boston.
Now the chair, the family tradition has it, the chair belonged to Reverend Holyoake, but we know nothing about.
Colonial portraits signed by the artist are rare, and this one, likely rendered from life, adds to its significance. The portrait of such an important historical figure at market value would be worth...
And I would say it probably is in the neighborhood of $25,000 today in the market.
Oh, really? Okay.
Maybe a little bit more. I'd insure it for $25,000 to $30,000.
While the chair, which features Boston craftsmanship and designs, would be worth...
Chairs like this bring somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000 at auction.
Oh my goodness.
Art Nouveau items are always known for their unique designs, and more so can be said for this particular item. The item, an Art Nouveau lighting device, captures attention with its unique design. Although the lighting device resembles bronze, it is actually crafted from white metal. Its eye-catching appearance certainly draws lots of interest from Art Nouveau collectors. In an antique shop, this piece would be considered a legitimate reproduction and be valued at...
I would think $1,200 to $1,500. You must have attracted a lot of attention when you brought this in.
We delve into the rich history of a cherished French doll passed down through the generations. This doll was given to the guest's grandmother in 1940, crafted by the renowned Jumeau firm in 1885.
She's made by a French firm called Jumeau, which was one of the prolific doll firms in France at that time period.
This doll features a closed mouth, paperweight glass threaded eyes, and high-quality bisque. Its original wig and compact size make it highly desirable among collectors.
And if you look at it, it's got a closed mouth, paperweight glass threaded eyes, very good quality bisque. The original wig, the size is what's so unusual.
Also enhancing its wonderful uniqueness, this doll still has its original dress and a distinctive shoulder plate design. In perfect condition, this doll remains a significant piece for many doll collectors and would be valued at...
She would be worth anywhere between $2,500 and $4,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. No, I really didn't. For real. This is amazing. Thank you so
you're
much,
welcome.
Floyd. I'm so
Thank
appreciative of this.
This delicate cat figurine captivates with its elegance. It has been in this guest's family for many years, and she inherited it from her grandmother. Upon turning the item over, the name of the maker is revealed to us, Émile Gallet. Gallet was a French artist and designer who worked in glass.
You can see the white color of this glaze. It's made white by adding tin, which oxidizes and goes white.
He is considered one of the major innovators in the French Art Nouveau movement. The figurine boasts white, tin-glazed earthenware and vibrant colors, primarily yellow and black. Although many of these types of figurines have been reproduced, this piece has been proven to be authentic.
It's also beautifully made, beautifully colored, and very characteristic of it.
We can expect this original cat figurine by Gallet to fetch at an auction value of...
This one today in an auction would probably bring about $2,000.
Wow.
Because it's in such great condition. It may even bring $2,500 or $3,000.
A masterpiece of horology is what we are presented with today. Our guest acquired this French chariot clock at an estate sale. This clock exemplifies neoclassical French clockmaking and was crafted with a gold surface atop brass.
In the horse's head, the Roman figure, and all the applied work here and the work here. This is put on a base, and these medallions around here are applied on as well.
Okay.
The clock features numerous interesting details, such as a Roman figure on a chariot, intricate designs adorning the chariot, 2 horses at the front, and a dial at the wheel. The watch's dial boasts 2 hands, and we can observe the skeletonized gears behind it. Additionally, this clock was made circa 1795 and is in terrific condition. This symbol of craftsmanship and artistic flair in such great condition would be valued at...
I think that's worth a little less than $10,000.
No.
I'd say about $8,500 to $8,500 to $9,500 for your clock.
No, really.
All right.
Yes.
Today's exhibition features a pair of vintage brass andirons that have been in the guest family for many years. Upon observing the front of these brass andirons, we can see a line signifying that they were crafted in 2 molds that were merged together. Underneath, we can discern a pinned-over rod showcasing an old style of craftsmanship.
There's a line. Do you see a line going down? That is because it was formed in 2 molds.
Fascinatingly, the feet were made to depict ball and talon designs. The items also feature acorn finial tops with an engraving of the American eagle adorning the front.
The other good thing about your andirons is the feet. You had that ball and talon foot. Many times there will be just a simple slipper foot. This is an extra feature.
At auction, these intricately crafted andirons would accrue a value of...
At an auction, a good estimate for these circa 1,800 andirons would be $5,000 to $7,000.
Oh my gosh.
So.
They've been sitting in the attic with the bats and the mice.
Okay. Well,
recently. Thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so
They're
much.
wonderful.
Today, we witness an artifact from a bygone era, a captivating vintage Oriental rug. Our guest bought this timeless piece from a lady in Illinois. The light blue selvage is a hallmark of Cuba craftsmanship. This piece is adorned with intricate designs.
And actually what caught my eye when you were standing in line is the unusual border. And you can also see here how the black here has corroded a little bit because there's iron in the dye that they use.
Accentuated by elaborate border patterns. The whimsical depiction of tiny human figures in the patterns confirms the rug's hand-woven origin. A small defect can be seen on the rug, but overall, this stunning rug is in pristine condition and would have an auction value of...
So in terms of value, something like this would actually sell around $3,500 at auction.
Wow.
So more than your $35.
Yes, that's for sure.
Imagine getting autographs from astronauts. Well, don't imagine. This book has those autographs in it. It contains the signatures of 122 astronauts, and the book started being signed in 1986. This means it has 20-plus years signatures. It's absolutely mind-blowing because this could end up being worth a hefty price tag. At auction, this book would retail for...
As a collection, I would say the book at the present moment is probably worth about $10,000.
Wow. The story behind this piece of paper is honestly exciting because although it looks like a legitimate marriage license, it's deeper than that. The license was supposed to belong to Davy Crockett, but it was never signed or executed.
And therefore it was going to be pitched out. And my uncle saw it, and being a fan of Crockett.
This license is special because it is older than most antiques, and yet, as a piece of paper, even though it is protected, it has lasted over centuries.
David Crockett, and his bride-to-be, her name is a little bit harder to read, but it's right here, Margaret Elder.
It's especially important because Davy Crockett went on to become an important figure. Because of his significance, this license would auction at...
We feel that it's worth $20,000 to $30,000.
My goodness, really?
Yes.
These ordinary pieces of paper are some of the most monumental artifacts ever because they signify the historical event of the moon landing. These newswires were transmitted in July 1969, and they're special because they were autographed in the White House and time-stamped. Newswires were also autographed by the 3 original astronauts during the 10-year anniversary.
They were going to be having a 10-year commemoration in the Rose Garden of the White House.
The newswires were accurately detailed to provide precise timestamps.
After a couple of minutes conversation, I'd asked them to sign the documents. All 3 astronauts signed these 2. Neil Armstrong was the only one to sign that 3rd one.
There's also a picture here of President Jimmy Carter and the original 3 astronauts. Each of these newswires is a piece of history, and so they would each auction at...
For the entire collection, I would give a conservative auction estimate of $24,000 to $34,000.
Okay.
Given to the guest by her favorite aunt, this Mickey Mouse toy is more than your everyday toy. Just like the titular character, this toy has on shorts, gloves, and shoes. Made by the Steiff Company, it is clearly shown on the button and tag on the doll. The doll's origin can be dated to circa 1936. Steiff early pieces like this doll are an incredibly rare find.
Obviously, it's a Steiff piece, which it shows on the button and on the tag.
On the retail market today, this toy, with its rarity and condition, would be worth...
On the retail market today, it's worth between $3,500 and $4,500.
Oh, my. Mickey, I love you.
Looking like a plank with decorative designs, this figure acquired by this guest actually has origins from the Australian continent. The figure is a protective item originating from the southern part of Papua New Guinea. Often used as a decorative piece, this figure's simple design is quite creative. It shows the creativity of the Papua New Guinea people. A simple, well-made decorative piece like this would be valued at...
as a decorative piece is going to be $2,000 to $3,000. Great.
These production design sketches hold a fascinating history. The reason why is that they were donated by the director of the film Out of Africa, Sidney Pollack. Pollack was an American film director, producer, and actor known for directing commercially and critically acclaimed studio films. The sketches depict poignant scenes from the Out of Africa film, beautifully capturing the emotional essence of the film.
This is the moment in the film, in this wonderful love story when Robert Redford lands his biplane and comes back.
Accompanying these sketches is a letter detailing Pollack's donation and acknowledging the talent of the film's art director, who won an Oscar for his work.
Just as the picture won Best Picture at the Oscars, he won an Oscar for art design.
These sketches provide a glimpse into the intricate artistry behind the film, showcasing the talent and dedication of the artist involved in its production. In the evolving market with its significant value in the world of film memorabilia, the gouache sketch would fetch
Auction, the painting up top, the gouache, would sell for approximately $1,000 to $1,500.
Reflecting both artistry merit and historical significance, the oil sketch would sell for.
And this one, which is a beautiful painting in and of itself, we would expect that one would probably sell between $2,000 to $3,000 at auction.
Oh, wow.
Here we have on display a German violin crafted in the town of Mittenwald, Germany. This item was acquired 35 years ago through an auction sale by our guest today.
And how long ago was that? That was probably about 30, 35 years ago. It's been sitting in either in the garage or in a closet.
German violins are known for their warm and powerful sound, often exhibiting a dark tone. Within the instrument lies a reproduction label bearing the date 1745, while the cast of the varnish and its level of transparency signify characteristic traits commonly found in German violins. This instrument remains in commendable condition, bearing only minor scratches. Although it is a reproduction, this piece exemplifies great craftsmanship, and in this good condition, it is estimated to be worth
Just a nice German instrument from this time period in good condition today would have a retail value between $12,000 and $15,000. Wow, that's pretty good investment.
On first sighting, this piece might look like just an ordinary decorative map. However, upon closer inspection, it can be noted that the map is actually a poster map made as a tourist keepsake.
In fact, it's something that we in the trade refer to as a poster map. And these maps were made as tourist knickknacks. These maps were made as decoration.
Created in 1926 by the artist Charles Vernon Farrow, this map features an extraordinary border with a chaotic mix of cars and people, reflecting the bustling streets of New York.
Not a particularly well-known or famous artist, but his work here is exquisite. It's a shame that there aren't more examples of his work.
The map depicts New York life, including flappers and a supposed gangster in a plaid suit. This map's value is heavily influenced by its New York theme, making it highly desirable to New Yorkers. Sadly, over time, some fading began to develop on the map. In good condition, however, due to its rarity and New York charm, this map could fetch
I would estimate it between $1,500 and $2,000. So in fact, it being mounted to a board and the colors having faded almost cuts the value in half.
Okay.
A look at this piece of furniture reveals an ornate level of Italian craftsmanship. This Venetian hand-carved chair was made circa 1880. It is an exquisitely detailed chair with wildly audacious carvings and embodies the bodacious Italian furniture style exported worldwide.
It is a Venetian hand-carved chair from about 1880.
Likely crafted from rich walnut wood, this piece hails from Italy's decorative carving schools. It is very rare to find such an exquisite example of well-made furniture at auctions for bargain prices. A piece of furniture with masterful craftsmanship of this quality and style would be valued at
auction, we might put an estimate on it in the $1,500 to $2,000 range.
Fan meets idol and becomes friends is essentially the summary of today's episode. This lucky guest received these cherished personal mementos from the king himself, Elvis Presley. Presley was an American singer regarded as one of the most significant cultural figures of the 20th century. This lucky guest became friends with Elvis, and they had a lasting friendship filled with memorable encounters. Due to their close friendship, the guest was able to receive a macrame belt.
I was kidding around with Elvis and asking him about his macrame belts, if he made them himself.
And a signed album from Elvis, which are now both prized memorabilia. Signed record albums by Elvis are really uncommon and rare.
When he went in to get dressed to go up to the stage, he came back out and he had the macrame belt in his hand and just kind of pitched it to me.
Combined, these items from the king of rock and roll have a conservative auction estimate of...
Again, fairly conservative auction estimate, maybe $7,500 to $9,500 on the pair. It's just great stuff. And if you're going to put an insurance value on it, you'd probably want to insure it for a little bit higher, maybe $10,000 for the two pieces.
This lamp was bought new by the guest's grandfather's uncle before World War I. The uncle special ordered a shade with more tulips than the regular tulip lampshade from the Tiffany counter at Marshall Fields in Chicago.
Typically, this shade would have had an extra border row along here.
Typically, shades like this from Tiffany would have an extra border row and more soil depicted, but this one has more tulips and stems. The lamp's glass features rare types like phosphate stringing and ripple glass, dating it around 1915. The lamp has its original cap and base with a wonderful patina referred to as righteous patina. Tiffany Studios allowed customers to mix and match shades and bases, making it special to see a piece that has stayed together. At auction, this special ordered lamp with rare features is estimated to be worth...
In terms of value, at auction, an estimate for this would be between $150,000 and $200,000.
Okay.
However, for retail and insurance purposes, its value is set to be at...
In a retail shop, and for insurance purposes, I would put a value of $375,000 on it.
Okay.
This piece, referred to as a torchère, features 4 lights and lanterns.
These thread out to adjust a valve and up to the burner to make the light.
Burning gas through a pipe that runs up the center column. Purchased by the guest some years back in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and reportedly originating from an opera house in Vienna, Austria, this torchère's date of creation can be set to around 1863.
That would have been relatively forward-thinking glaze for 1863, but we can believe that it is in fact 1863.
The torchère boasts a neo-Renaissance design with gilt decoration and a forward-thinking pink majolica glaze. Its intricate details include gilt bronze mounts and frosted etched glass shades, all appearing original. At auction, conservatively, this torchère with its unique features and excellent condition would be valued at...
We would conservatively estimate this piece to bring $10,000 to $15,000 in today's auction market.
Okay.
This pot of Native American make was initially thought to be Navajo. However, upon closer inspection, the pot is discovered to be Zuni, due to similarities in design. The classical rainbird design and Zuni clay confirm this conclusion.
One time when I was in the Field Museum, I saw a pot similar to it under the Zuni display, and so I thought, well, it must not be Navajo, it must be Zuni.
The pot was probably made between 1880 and 1890. Despite noticeable damage, which indicates genuine use, the pot's condition adds to its authenticity. Measuring 14 1/4 inches in diameter, this pot qualifies as an olla, or short-necked jar, an unusually large size. Given its size and authenticity, in a private gallery, this pot could fetch...
In a private gallery, I think you're looking at $15,000 to $25,000.
Oh my gosh. That's unbelievable.
Before us is a vintage platter that the guest inherited from his aunt. The platter was crafted using the transfer printing process, a technique developed in the 18th century, which involves engraving on paper and then transferring it onto porcelain. On the back of the platter, we can discern a cartouche bearing Pomerania, depicting an Old English town scene complete with mountains and houses. The platter originated from Staffordshire, England, and was produced by the John Ridgway Company. The detailing and condition of this authentic piece are remarkable, placing its value at... A collection of 5 vases was brought onto the show by a guest who purchased them in a shop 20 years ago in England.
I remember the antique shop was right off the train platform, so I kind of wandered through there. And what caught my eye is the red color. I liked the red color, and the shop owner...
These vases were made by Royal Doulton, and there are 2 different types in this collection, 2 smaller vases and 3 larger vases. Underneath all 3 of the larger vases, there's the Royal Doulton mark. The larger vases have colorful glazes and were made circa the mid-1920s. Furthermore, the smaller vases, called the Sungware, also have the Royal Doulton mark underneath them. A piece closer to the guest, one of the larger ones with a wooden base cover, is estimated to be worth...
I suspect at auction it would bring at least $3,000 today, and maybe $5,000.
While the large one in the middle with a glazing would have an auction value of...
I would say between $2,000 and $4,000.
And the large one closer to the appraiser would fetch an auction value of...
But it has the effects that people like, would bring about $3,000 to $4,000.
Lastly, the 2 colorful Sung pieces would command an auction value of...
And they're both great ones. They have more color than many, and I would say $1,500 to $2,000 for the one closest to me, and the same for the one with the parrot that you like.
There are landscape paintings, and then there's this beauty of an oil painting. Drawn by Charles Partridge, this oil painting exudes expertise and incredible appeal.
He was painting there around the turn of the century. The painting's signed and dated Charles Partridge Adams, 1898.
This painting represents a genre called Impressionist painting, and it was created in 1898, a year considered to be a great one for Partridge. There's so much attention to detail in this painting that brings it to life, and the contrast between colors increases its appeal. It's a beautiful painting that we often don't see reproduced anymore. Because of its uniqueness and the great sense of expertise, this painting would auction at...
My sense of the painting's value is in the range of $10,000 to $15,000. Oh, really? Yep, so it's a handsome picture. Thank you. Okay.
This would look like junk to a lot of antique collectors, but to those who have an eye for great tribal art pieces, this is a goldmine. This item is called a war club, and it was used by Native Americans during wars.
I think it's a ceremonial piece, maybe. The wear on it isn't such that it would have been used in battle, I don't think.
This one is special because, unlike most war clubs, it is a ceremonial war club. It is made from ash and was crafted around the 1850s.
The scale of it, the weight of it, when you see the older ones, they're generally smaller.
War clubs served as a symbol of authority, and possession of a ceremonial one positioned someone as a superior warrior. As a symbol of Native American militarism, this war club would auction at...
I would easily expect it to bring $15,000 to $20,000.
What?
So a fair amount of money, and you know,
oh
a good
kidding.
buy at the sale.
Yeah, my knees are shaking.
It looks like a medieval British bridle for horses, but this item was crafted by the Navajo. The Navajo are a Native American tribe known for crafting some of the best folk art pieces, and this bridle is a masterpiece created by an expert Navajo artist. This bridle, or horse headgear, was created in 1870, and the idea is widely believed to be inspired by the Plains Indians, specifically the Comanche and Kiowa.
This is the earliest characteristic of a Plains Indian bridle. They rocker engrave the decoration.
The bridle is made from fine silver material, which gives it a scintillating shine.
The beautiful conches are all cold chiseled with probably the end of a file or something.
A distinguishing feature of this bridle is the rare original leather that was coupled with it.
And I particularly like these little scoops. There's early photographs of southern Cheyenne taken in the 1860s.
As a beautiful piece of folk art, this bridle would fetch an auction price of...
I think it would easily bring $10,000 to $15,000 at auction.
Wow. Well, great. Well, thank you. You by far gave me the most information I've ever received about...
You're welcome.
A pair of stylish earrings was brought in for appraisal. These are beautiful diamond and sapphire earrings from the early 1940s. They are from the late Deco period and manufactured in South America. The earrings are diamonds mounted in platinum, accentuated with caliber-cut sapphire. In weight, there are about 3 carats of diamonds. At an auction, this pair of earrings would be valued at...
I would value them at auction $5,000 to $7,000.
Wow, wow. Very nice to know.
This painting from the late 1950s was made by the Highwaymen, a group of black artists. They were called the Highwaymen because they painted and sold most of their paintings on the highway for about $20 to $50. They were a group of 26 artists from Florida, but the most prominent was Harold Newton, who signed on the painting. The wonderful part about their painting is that they painted about the rich landscape of Florida from around the mid-1950s to the 1980s. Usually, they painted on cheap materials like the material of this painting, the pickled oak frame, and how the liner is painted with whitewash. These African-American artists were trained by Beanie Backus, a white artist from Florida who was interested in black artists. The painting beautifully captures Florida's remote and unspoiled landscape during that period. At auction, this painting would be valued at...
And today at auction, this would probably bring somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000.
I wasn't going to say this, but golly.
These 2 paintings by Amadeo de Souza Cardoso are brought in for appraisal. Amadeo de Souza Cardoso was one of the most important Portuguese modernists of the 20th century. He had a productive career, though he died at age 30 in 1918. Most of his paintings are Cubist paintings around the time when Cubism was hot in Europe. Part of these paintings are oil on board and were made circa 1910. He participated in some seminal art shows, such as the Salon des Indépendants, and in 1913 he was exhibited at the Armory Show in New York. Some of his paintings were also in American museums until 1925, when his paintings were forgotten. They were somewhat revived in 1952 in Amarante, his hometown in Portugal. If these paintings were paired at an auction, the most conservative price would be around...
I would put an estimate, which is a conservative estimate, of $200,000 to $300,000.
No. I mean, that is out of...
For the pair.
Oh my goodness.